Alright, well, it's been a very long time since I've actually been out here and able to work for a little bit, but I promised you all guys a video of tearing the bottom half of this engine apart, and I haven't really had time to get to it. It's been cold, been working, so got some free time tonight, so we're going to go ahead and try to get most of this engine torn apart today. So I just basically, from where we left off, I just flipped it over. So I haven't taken anything apart yet. I got a gun here, I'm going to remove the oil pan, and we'll just go from there. So first thing I gotta do is remove all the oil pan bolts, and I'm just gonna throw them on the floor. And again, you don't want to really use an impact gun for doing this if you're actually working on the car. It's not the appropriate way because they're aluminum bolts. You could easily wreck them. I'm just doing this for speed. Imagine doing this underneath a car. This would suck. The ones in the back of the flywheel by the flywheel area or bell housing are a lot longer. Alright, that's all of them. Let's see if we can't get it off. It's probably going to be stuck. Let me go get my screwdriver. Let's see if we can't pry it off. Unpleasant noises. Alright. Well, that's interesting. Look at this. If you look inside here, and now I didn't do anything to this engine apart from take the head off. There's a bolt in here. And they've been chewed up pretty bad. That's... If you look over here, there are smashed up bits of, it's piston ring. That's an oil control ring. Oh wow, that's compression ring right there. I think we know what killed the engine. Something must have fell apart. That's pretty bad. Now why that happened, I don't know. But if you look over here, this little piece fell out earlier when I tipped the engine over to drain the fluids out. So there's definitely... I'm not sure what this is for. It's an aluminum bolt, so it'd be something that holds the bed plate together, or oil pan. I'm gonna try to figure out where it came from. It's not for the windage tray here. Why are these? There's no bolts in the oil pump. Ah, that's it right there. The bolts for the oil pump fell out. There's one hole right up here. And then there's one down here. And then this one right here, you can still see has the bolt in it. So that's the only thing holding this oil pump on is one bolt. So the oil pump bolts, here they are. Here's the remains of it right down in here. Oh, that looks chewed up. Come here. And of course I can't use my magnet because it's aluminum. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Yeah, that's fucked. So what killed this engine? Well, we know what killed it now. Like further disassembly at this point would only be for observation, but the oil pump bolts fell out. Why that happened, I have no idea. But that's what killed this engine. So it wasn't even a fault of the tune, like we initially thought, or ran lean or something. It actually died because the pump, the bolts fell out, and it must have banged around in there and hit the score. It broke the piston rings, and then that caused the loss of compression. And you got oil control, bits of oil control ring right here. You can see the zigzaggy shape. And that's what's causing the oil consumption. So this engine technically wasn't even at fault for a tune, it was a mechanical failure. And as to why that happened, I have no idea. And there's some more bits of the rings and yeah, that's pretty bad. Alright, well, I guess the next step would be to get this oil pump off, and it's got a intermediate chain here that goes up to your crank that drives it, so we're gonna have to, I might have to pull the harmonic balancer off to get that off, or unless we can just take it off and just kind of work it out. We'll try that first. So I'm gonna grab my gun here and I'm gonna take the only remaining bolt holding this pump on off, and there's a long one. Alright, so now there's nothing really holding the pump on it. The oil pickup, actually if you look inside of this oil pickup tube inside here, I don't know if you can see it, there's bits of the ring in there, in the screen. So the screen was doing its job of keeping the shit out, but nothing else was. And it appears that some of the bolts are shared for the windage tray for this oil pickup tube. So we're gonna take this. Yeah, that's just held in by O-rings. Now if you look, if I dump this out, there's some oil for your, yeah. There's a piece of ring right there. There's a bunch more in there yet. You can hear them rattling around. So that's that. I got a little shit on my hands. That's pretty serious. I've never seen that happen before. Not that I've taken a lot of these apart, but. Alright, so the chain tension on this pump is holding it in. So actually it looks like there's a bracket here. Yeah, there's a bracket that attaches to the pump up in front here, behind the sprocket. So to get this out, we're going to have to yeah. Like I said, this isn't like an appropriate way of disassembling this engine. I'm just trying to take it apart just to take it apart. I'm no engine builder. So I'm gonna try to take off these two bolts and that central star bit right there and see if I can't just take this apart just to get it out of the way. Because I have no desire to take the timing chains out of the case, so. Let's see. Get my impact sockets for the Torx bit. The one thing you'll notice is here, I'll actually, if you want, zoom in right here. If you want, I'll show you what it looks like inside there so you can see what I'm talking about. If you look inside that gap right there, if you look inside, here's the oil pump sprocket right here. Alright, now it goes down to a secondary chain and it goes all, it's kind of hard to see it. It goes down and then it goes down to the sprocket that's towards the bottom right here. It's really, really hard to see. But yeah, the sprocket comes down and it drives the vacuum pump and the high pressure fuel pump. Comes back up around and wraps around the crank, the harmonic balance, the crankshaft, and goes back around. So it's actually a separate chain from the timing chain. So I'll try to get that out. But for now, I'm just gonna get this oil pump off. So let's see if we can't get this off. First, I'm gonna try to get that bolt off that holds the sprocket on. That came off a lot easier than I thought it would. So now that's not the chain tension pulled it right back down, so that's not going anywhere. We'll take off the bracket now and try to get the oil pump out of there. Should just kind of come off now, I think. Nothing else holding it on. There we go. It's coming. Well, the remains of the other bolt are kind of holding it in place right here. You can't see it's in the bolt hole, but there we go. And a piece fell off inside there. That wasn't from before, but that just happened now. So here's the oil pump, and it's leaking oil everywhere, as oily things usually do. We'll get the drain pan out so that we can drain oil and happiness. So this, I would actually believe that it's probably fine. I mean, I don't think any big oil particles got in there thanks to the oil pickup screen, but if I had to use it, I wouldn't. So I could just sit there and drain in happiness. So here's cylinder 1, the crankshaft. And it's in the downward position. I don't know if I can, yeah, I can put it by hand. So yeah, that's kind of that nonsense right there. So yeah, we're gonna take this windage tray off. And for those of you who don't know what a windage tray is for, it's when the engine's running at like, you got, idling at the 800 RPM or whatever, but if you're driving 2000 RPM, this thing's whipping oil everywhere. And this just kind of keeps the oil from splashing around and hitting the pan, and it keeps more of the oil up inside of this area when it gets up there. It's kind of hard to explain. It's more of probably a fuel efficiency thing, so that way the oil's not being all whipped around. Performance oriented thing too, keeps oil down below the oil pan when it's down there and helps the oil pump pick up with it. And there are bits of ring everywhere in this engine. There goes the windage tray. So yeah, there's really not much to that thing, it's just a piece of metal. Alright, so if you look down inside here, you can see the crankshaft now. And I remember showing you guys how it looked on top when it was spinning, so this is what it looks like on the bottom. You got cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this ring gear right here, that's the crankshaft ring for the sensor for the crankshaft position. So you can see there's a flat spot right here, so it knows exactly how many times this thing's rotating. That's how it's for fuel injection and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's that spinning. We're gonna get down inside here and see what it was. Number 1 that was messed up, so it'll be this one right here. I don't know if I have a. It's an E-bit, C12 or something. And again, you don't want to use an impact when dealing with engine internals. Again, I'm just taking this apart to take it apart. So there's the cap, and inside there'll be a bearing and a bolt that fell out. So here's the bearing. It comes out. And honestly, it doesn't look that bad. This engine had roughly 100,000, 120,000 miles on it, so it's not bad. There's a little scoring right there, but the journal looks okay. But we won't know that until we get down further and check all the rest of them. So that's for cylinder 1. So now I'm going to spin this engine, and to get the piston out without removing the crankshaft, we'll get to eventually. I'm just going to turn it up. And I should be able to just, and it's pissing out more oil. I should be able just to kind of push it up. We're going to go down from the bottom, I guess. Alright. Alright, here's piston 1. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That is fucked. Yep, so bolt broke off an oil pan or oil pump bolt. Whatever reason, it broke. Two of them did. It broke, bounced around inside there, got jammed up in between the piston, broke it. And the oil control ring and one compression ring took a dump, and that's why it was burning oil. So it wasn't even a tune problem. It was yeah, see, you shouldn't be able just to pop these rings off this easily. I mean, I can get that off. That's one compression ring right there. That's what a ring's supposed to look like. Now, if you look at the pile over there, that's kind of what they look like now. So here's the failure piston. That's a shame. Yeah, there's bits of the ring lands are falling apart, kind of like a Subaru. Yeah, here's the remains of the compression ring. So that's that one. It's toast. Oh, we'll go ahead and put this together. We're gonna. Shite! Don't drop it. So there's the whole assembly. We'll keep it together. I'm gonna make a little statue out of this one for failure. But yeah, it doesn't weigh anything. It's actually pretty small. But you can kind of see I got bigger hands, but you can kind of see how big they are. They're not terribly huge. But this is the failure right here. So like I said, oil pump bolts broke off, bounced around in the oil pan, smashed up into this piston, thus effectively killing it with when it damaged the ring lands and it took the oil control ring and one of the compression rings out. And even despite that fact, more parts are falling off. Despite that fact, this engine still ran when it was pulled. Not very well, but it ran. So, yeah, that's what killed it. So let's get the other pistons out. We'll set them in a row over here in order that they came out. So we'll index the crank here and get the other ones out. So there's another number 2 journal, and it looks fine. And this one is actually a lot tougher to get out because then I'll beat the shit. So I'm going to rope this up a little bit so I can get in there a little easier. There's number 2. So this is what one's supposed to look like. You can see the zigzaggy oil control ring in there. You can see the number 2 compression ring and the number 1. So this is what it's supposed to look like. And there's no scoring on there. It's actually in pretty decent shape. And the person who owned this car kept up with maintenance pretty well, but it was beyond pretty bad. So I mean, and you can tell these are designed to go, they're machined as one. You can see little notch cutouts right here. So if you flip this around, try to put it on there, it does not mate up at all. But if you put it around this way, it mates up perfectly. So there's that one. Put that there. I'll get number 3 off. You can kind of see the oil squirters in there. What I'm going to do is after I get these pistons off, I'm going to cut the camera for a bit, and then I'm going to grab a flashlight, and we'll prepare to take the bed plate off, and that way we'll get the crankshaft out. I'm just going to buzz all these off. Again, not proper way of doing this. Just get it done quickly. can you imagine hearing that sound when your engine's up? Oh, there goes the cap. I guess number 4 wants to come out, or 5. Yeah, no, it's 4. Yeah, don't do that either. Dropping bolts in an engine is a no-no. As you can already see, that what killed this engine. A 13-cent aluminum bolt. So as you can see over here, I'm just kind of I'm pushing the back of the piston. It just kind of pops out. I'll have her stay over there, and she'll watch me get the other ones out. I'm gonna drain the oil. This one's a lot of oil in this one. Again, looks fine. There's really nothing going on with it. Just trying to keep these together. Definitely not usable, because you wouldn't want to put used pistons and rods like this in an engine. But it just kind of gives you an idea. Like, this person was pushing a hybrid stage 2 turbos on it. What fuel injection system did he have? He had the throttle body, the TBI injection on it. So it wasn't terribly hopped up. I mean, it was hopped up, but it wasn't like port injection single turbo type stuff. But it was definitely up there. I'd imagine in the 500s for horse for sure, and driven like a race car at that. And I dropped all the bolts and shit in there. I'll get them out later. So yeah, I'm just going to push on the back side of this piston here. As soon as I get the crankshaft out of the way, there we go. So it should just pop out. There we go. There's number, I think it was number 4. I forget what order I'm in. I don't really care at this point. So, get the bearing out of there, and the bolt I dropped. Put that bearing back in there. I don't know if you can see it, but like I said, there's that little notch in the bearings here. But yeah, there's these little notches in the bearings. That's what holds them in place. So there's that one. I got 4 of them out. I'm actually going to cut the video for now, and I'll get the other 2 out. There's nothing really else. It's falling apart as we speak. I'm going to get the other ones out. They all look the same, so I'm going to cut the video for a second, and then I'll come back to it when we get the bed plate out. So stay tuned for more. So, just to recap, I cut the camera for just a second because I was having some hard times getting the pistons out. But what I did so far is I took the oil pan off, the oil pump, and all the pistons, and what we found was bolts from the oil pump ended up falling off. And you can see little bits it's all chewed up. Ended up smashing into the piston. Those are the oil control ring bits, and it actually completely screwed up the ringland on number 1. You can see right there how marred up and chewed up it is. There's actually a loose piece on there. It goes. Loose piece that just fell off right here. And it's part of the ringland. And here's what a piston's supposed to look like. So there are all 6 of them right there. I got them all out. So what I'm going to do now, I just took the harmonic balancer off while I had the camera off. What I'm going to do now, the next video, is I'm going to take off the bed plate. And that's what secures the crankshaft in there. Now that may be kind of intensive, a lot of bigger bolts. But that'll be the next video. So as always, thanks for watching.